You are now listening to the Minority Trailblazer podcast. Let the story begin.
One time for the lovers, two times for the ladies, three times for the brothers, four times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 One time for the lovers, two times for the ladies, three times for the brothers, four times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin. Hold me down.
You are now tuned into episode 66 of the Minority Trailblazer podcast, and I'm your host, Greg Eel, the culture change agent. I am pumped up. I am excited. This week has been legendary. Things are just coming my way. Knowledge is just being shared. I'm getting connected with a lot of phenomenal, amazing people. The feedback has been great. Thank you, the listener, for leaving reviews, engaging with my YouTube channel, on Twitter, definitely LinkedIn. And yo, we across the pond. We like UK, Brooklyn, Jamaica, South Africa. Like, yo, it is crazy. And I know I talked about last week in the video, speaking things to existence. And of course, this week I had another graduation. Last week I had two graduation keynotes. And I told you that before 35, I wanted to be the commencement speaker at North Carolina A&T. But let me put something else in the air, right? This year, we're going to speak internationally. It has to get done, so let's make it happen. If you're abroad and you want to bring me there, make sure you hit me up. I got you. And today's episode is going to be one of the most unique ever because I'm interviewing a girl that is a true go-getter. And we're going to jump into the episode really, really soon. I guarantee it's not more than a 15-minute intro, all right? I just want to get a couple key housekeeping things on the way, and then we're going to jump right into it. First things first. Let's get to 200 reviews on iTunes. So please, please, please leave a review if you're listening via iTunes, if you haven't done already. Second, make sure you register at minoritytrailblazer.com to get updates on the March conference. It is going to change the world. Well, we got 300 tickets that we're going to sell. It haven't went online yet. We have a lot of great speakers, and the content we're going to provide is going to be very intentional. So we're going to give you the inspirational piece and the story-driven stuff, but we also going to give you the practical things about how to take your life and your business to the next level. I can't wait. I'm pumped up. I'm excited for that. And the third thing, Minority Trailblazer Live Tour is on the way. We have changed one date. So for Durham, North Carolina, we're actually going to be on August 12th. So I'm going to end at my hometown. But July 8th, Charlotte, we coming to you. July 15th, DC, we coming to you. July 22nd, Atlanta, we coming to you. Brooklyn, August 5th, we coming to you. In Houston, Texas, July 29th, we coming to you. I can't wait. I will be sharing who I'm interviewing over the next couple weeks. And most importantly, it ain't even about who I'm interviewing. It's about the session after. So I can't wait to give more details. Also, I will have a private 1 hour lunch beforehand so you can pick my brain, ask me any question you want to have. My guests will be there. The price point is going to be a little higher, but it's going to be a very intimate session. So I'm thinking around like 3 to 10 individuals. I'm talking about anything you want to know about podcasting, writing a book, speaking. I am an open book. I'll give you templates. We'll do all that good stuff. So that's going to be an hour before the podcast. And after the podcast, we're going to have intentional networking spaces so that people that are in the building, and I know DC, I got something special for you, but people that are in the building will be able to connect and most importantly, grow. All right. And then you can find out more information at greggyhill.com/MTP live. All right. And we're coming to a city near you. Make sure you tell a friend, even if they don't listen to the podcast, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, because this is going to be phenomenal. And that's all the housekeeping I got. Let's get into the show. On this show, we interview young, successful minorities in a variety of fields to educate, empower, and inspire our current and future generation of leaders. And when I tell you, audience, Minority Trailblazer Nation, this interview it might be it may be one of the best of all time. I haven't even recorded yet. I'm already going to put it out there. It's going to be just the energy we had before the call, the energy we had a month ago when we plotted on how to get this out here. And I'm telling you, jewels, stories, laughter, realness, it's already there. And I'm going to shut up, read the bio, and we're going to jump right into it. So she is the founder and CEO of the DAS Media Group, a digital content marketing agency, and she is also an American entertainment personality, a global millennial influencer, keynote speaker, best-selling author, engineer of a global social media following over 130,000 people on all platforms, which is crazy. I know that was a mouthful, but her bio, what she's done, and her age, she's only 24, it's all a mouthful. An empowering and an internationally recognized talent, she has been interviewed on ABC, Fox, NBC, CBS, Marie Claire, I don't know if I said that right, Business Insider, and she is fluent in Spanish as well. And she was invited to be moderated a panel at the Commission on the Status of Women at the United States National Headquarters in New York City. In March 2016, she was profiled on Global Hero in Inc. magazine to share her thoughts on the broadening international access to global girls' education. She was also profiled in Forbes magazine, yes, I said it, Forbes magazine, about her entrepreneurship journey to becoming a full-time CEO at 24. And she was invited to share her strategies to build businesses in her Better Business book, Volume 2, which will be published in 2017. She is brash, unique, and unequivocally vicious. I'm talking about vicious in a good way. And I love her energy and her grit. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Shinjini to the Minority Trailblazer podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Greg. Dude, you are so dope. Like, I'm just trying to keep up with your level of dopeness. I think that's where we're at.
Oh, don't flatter me like that. I haven't reached to the point where you just gotta flatter me like that. Like you don't. Like, you know, when you on Oprah's show, you have to flatter Oprah first and then go into your story. But I'm not on that level, so you don't have to flatter me. You can just say thank you, Greg, and let's get to it, man. You're wasting my time. You only got but so much. That's all you had to say.
Oh, no. I'm so excited. And I was telling you before the show, I'm a big fan of your journey, and I think you're a true exemplification of a go-getter. So I think this will be absolute fire. So I'm so excited.
You already know. So we always start the show off with a quote and a story about how you apply the quote to your everyday life. So Shinjini, go get her. How share with us a quote that you live by and give us a great story about how you apply it to your everyday life.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is such a great question because I've literally had this quote my entire life, which is, destiny is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. It is not a thing to be waited for. It is a thing to be achieved. And I think this is so good, right? It's so good because I've always believed that, I need to work to get to where you want to go, and thankfully I've been very blessed, great family, great childhood, great upbringing, all of that. But I always felt like it wasn't enough. I always felt like, oh, cool, this is it. Oh, cool, this was middle school. Oh, high school. And so at every point, I've wanted more. And I realized very early on, maybe you did too, Greg, is that achievement is the way out of mediocrity. I realized that. So it's like the only way to get out of like what everybody else is doing is to constantly achieve. And by achieving, you become great, right? Because if you've achieved a certain number of things that, not everybody has, now all of a sudden you're different, right? Now all of a sudden you have your own playing field. And then the more you achieve, the higher up you go in life. And so for me, that was a big realization. I think that happened in my teens. So like 12, 13, and ever since I've just been on a ridiculous achievement grind, because I want to be known, as the go-getter girl. I want a legacy. I want an empire. I want all these things. And the only way to get all these things is through achievement, So for me, that's so in a sense, like creating my own destiny is a very appealing concept versus like you're, screwed, like everything is already like worked out for you, because that's not how I roll. And that's not what I teach. And that's not what I tell my people, is like, oh, well, you can't do anything about what life has thrown your way. Like, that's just not how I operate. And I know that's not how you operate either. And so I think for me, like, this is huge that, oh my God, I can create my own destiny by literally just achieving.
So before we get into it, something just popped to my mind. How do you balance achieving with still being intrinsically happy? You feel not happy, but like sound, because there's somebody that's listening right now. They said, I hear you, but what if I'm not achieving? Like, how can I still be intrinsically, like, until I get to the point where I'm achieving? Does that mean I'm little? Like, so what's your take on that?
Yeah, Greg, for me, my happiness doesn't depend on my achievements. I think for me, achievement is like my desire. Like, that's what I want to do. But I'm not going to tell you that, dude, when I'm on Oprah's show and when I'm chilling with Oprah, I'm going to be a lot happier than I am right now chilling with you. Like, I don't think that's going to be the case. But yes, that's my ambition. I want to do that. I want to meet her. I want to hug her. I want to let her know that she's amazing. But I don't think that I'm going to be a lot happier than I am right now. Like, I don't think that they're related. So long story short, your happiness comes from within you. It is not related to your wealth. It is not related to your looks. It is not related to your confidence. It is not related to who you're married to, who your kids are, who your boyfriend is, or like, any of that kind of stuff. I think for me, happiness is just like who I am on a daily basis. I literally wake up every day and I'm so excited to do the things that I'm doing. And this, like money doesn't reign as an entrepreneur. It's not like every day you wake up and it's millions. Like that's not
some
how
days the sun is
right?
out. Some days the desert is out. Some days
right? Yeah, so it is not magic. And so it's not like every day I'm waking up, to millions yet. But, that I'm sure that day will come. But I don't think I'm going to be so much happier than I am now. You know what I mean? So I think the biggest thing for everybody listening, girls, guys, all that, make sure your happiness is from within you. Like, this is not related to your looks, to your body, to your whatever. Like, this is you because you love yourself, because you're worthy, because you're happy with who you are. And then ambitions, like, leave that separate. Like, yeah, those are like my goals. You know what I mean? But I don't think my goals make me, happier. I think that obviously, like, I'd be sad if I didn't achieve them, but that doesn't mean that now all of a sudden, like, my whole, life is like destroyed. It still means that I love myself. It still means that, I'm happy with who I am. But yeah, I definitely want to achieve everything on my list, as all of you guys do, because we're go-getters. So yeah, I think for me, it's about keeping my happiness separate from, material things, from achievements.
And I think you said something deep. Two things. One, as far as, and you made me think of how we oftentimes frame what achievements is. Like, my mind already drifted towards achievement as far as monetary, whatever, but achievement, like you said, is your mindset on life, your mindset on living. That can be an achievement. And I think you said mentality. And the biggest thing I caught from it, and many of you probably didn't catch it, but it was like your level of excitement being say if you were on Oprah, saying to be on the show is like probably almost the same. And a lot of us, the reason why we're blocked, because we're waiting for the excitement of being a millionaire. We're not being excited on being like having $100 in our bank. Like, we're like, so you got $100 in the bank, you're not excited, but then you gonna be excited when you get a millionaire? No, like, because when you bring that energy, that excitement here to be on the show, like I can hear from your voice, then that gets you to Oprah. But if you're just like, oh, this is a show, this is like, I'm kind of excited, you're never going to get to Oprah.
Yeah, no, you're actually absolutely right, because, you attract what you put out, and so you have to always, and that was something, Greg, that I told myself that I wanted to be remembered as, that, because I knew, like, all of it would like blow up soon, but like 2 years ago, I wanted people to say that, you know what, when she was on, was it like Good Morning Washington in DC, when two people watched, she was the same as she was on Oprah's show. You know what I mean? Like, that was a big deal to me. Like, I told myself that because this was 2 years ago, and I was like, I want people to remember me as even when she was stuck. Or whatever. Good Morning Alabama, right? Literally.
I'm like, what is Shinjini doing in Alabama? I'm like,
Exactly. But dude, that's why I did that, because I wanted people to be like, you know what? She's always been like this. So it's not like now all of a sudden on Bloomberg, it's this, amazing person. And then on Good Morning America or Good Morning Alabama, it was shit. Like, so for me, like, that was a big thing. Like, that was even today, like, I treat all of my opportunities with equal respect and dignity. And you're right, it comes down to respect, because if you don't respect these opportunities, they're going to stop coming. And then you can forget about Oprah. You can forget about your Oprah, whatever that is, right? The millionaire and the billionaire and all that stuff, because if I can't respect and achieve at this level, there's no way I'm going to do that, right? And so I think for me, that was a big deal, is like, I want people to remember that she always looked good then. It's not like after Good Morning America, she was
I love it. She always looked good then. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like that was important to me. Like that was important that people remembered my rise with respect, not like, oh, she sold herself out, you know?
I love it. So as we start to pivot to the beginning of your show, 24. Because when I'm listening to you, I don't hear a 24-year-old. I remember when I was 24, and I just don't hear that. So getting featured on Forbes, 24, navigate us through your story. But I want to do something unique on this show because usually I just say navigate us through the story. But I want, as you navigate it, right? First, paint the picture of the audience. If you had a story, like what movie would kind of be narrate your life, and then take us to 3 points in the story, right? This is your life. This is a movie. This is your story. The climax, which is like the peak, I
Mhm.
mean, we're not near the peak yet, but you get what I'm saying. The climax, like the,
Right.
the, the struggle moment,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then like the journey, like the Rocky scene where you're training, the process. So kind of walk us through, narrate it in that sense so we can kind of, get in your shoes before we take us on this journey of how we can be better and what we need to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. Dude, I don't know about movie, but song is Girl on Fire by
Okay.
Alicia Keys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, every time I listen to it, I actually almost start crying because it's my life, you know? Growing up, I was super shy, very introverted, and, you know, didn't have friends, you know? So all of my, like, life moments were alone in the sense that I had to rely on myself, right? So it's not like I could ask my 10 other friends, you know, what to do, or, you know, I'm having this problem, let me talk to the 5 people in my posse. Like that was never, ever, ever a thing. And so I think what that taught me in retrospect was like to trust myself, you know, and to be really self-reliant, because every single thing I did, from just like academics to extracurricular club to public speaking, you know, because that was just me. It wasn't like me and a team, right? It made me very, very self-reliant to the point that I realize that, you know, I'm beautiful enough, I'm smart enough, I'm confident enough, I'm powerful enough. And so that was a huge thing for me, you know, growing up and you know, learning all that. Because now sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't have any friends, I didn't this, I was shy. But I am who I am today because of that, right? Because if I had relied on like a million people at every step of the way, even today, I'd be like, Greg, should I do this? I don't know, you know? But I don't do that now because I'm like, shit, I do know. I do know what I should be doing. I do know what I shouldn't be doing, you know? So I think for me, that song is big. And I think there's a lyric in there. It's like, it's a lonely girl, lonely world, something like that. And again, I don't want it to sound like depressing, but I mean, there were definitely times, and even today, like there's a lot of my time that I spend working alone. And I'm sure that won't be the case, you know, when I build out my, you know, company team, and when I'm, you know, out there in LA and this and that. I mean, my life's about to become ridiculous. And so I'm going to lose a little bit of that alone time. But I think for me, that's been huge in terms of like getting one with myself, in terms of trusting myself, in terms of not letting other people tell me what to do, and me being like, okay, cool, I'll just say yes to all of you, you know? And so I think like just self-respect, I think that's been huge. In terms of the story, okay, so 3 points. So I'll start with the struggle. The struggle was like, you know, the first part of my life. I think I got discovered at 23. And so I would say and I started public speaking at about 15. So between 15 and 23, I think was sort of that struggle period. Having said that, I didn't look at it at that because I was like, oh, I'm achieving. I won the whatever national, you know, competition, and I won the regional. So like I was moving. So at that point, I wasn't like, oh, I'm struggling. But now when I look back, like, yeah, I think that was the sort of quote unquote struggle period. But I think what was really the struggle was I always knew where I belonged, you know, for whatever reason, all of this was always very exciting to me, like influence, fame for the sake of influence, not because you get to wear, you know, pretty dresses, but because you are seen and heard and you can change the world in a good way. Like that to me was always very exciting. I remember as a like 15-year-old, you know, those magazine covers that you can like put your picture on, you know what I'm talking about? And there was like a bunch, and the one I picked, I still remember, it was the world's most famous. And the underlying thing of the quote in the magazine was how fame changed me. And I still remember putting my picture, and it was like one of the shoots that I did just as like a kid. I put it on there, and I told myself, I was like, fame is not going to change me. Fame is going to show people who I really am. And this was at 15. So I think like
how does a shy girl
I know
transform
it's
so
confidence,
fast?
dude. It's confidence. See, that's what I want to like. That's what I want to like dispel stereotypes on, because yes, I was shy, but I was always confident. Does that make sense?
Because we a lot of
Make
times we
sense?
think of shy, we automatically think of like somebody
Exactly.
that doesn't have confidence.
Exactly. So even today at my core, dude, I'm an introvert. Like I love like my four people, but because of my job now, like I'm an extrovert. You know what I mean? So I'm an extrovert. And so at 15, I was absolutely shy, but I was very confident because I've spent like all these years alone,
Mm-hmm.
and like trying to build my life and career and all that stuff. So I remember I saw that I was like, fame is not going to change me. It's going to show people who I really am. And so and I think there was always like this element of like ballsiness. I spoke about things that people were not speaking about at that point. So everybody was like something about stereotyping, and I came out and said, "Don't stereotype." That was one speech. So at every point, it was like I was doing something that other people were not doing, and I think that was like a big part of it. I think the struggle there was like, wow, I'm so different. Wow, I'm totally unlike everybody else. I didn't go to prom in high school. I didn't. I guess I wasn't asked or whatever. And so all these things were like there, of like, oh, I feel so different. And I think that was a struggle. When I went to college was when I grew out of my shell a
And where'd you
little
go to
bit.
school
I
at?
learned Georgia Tech,
Okay.
in Atlanta. So go Jackets. I was, yeah, like I was super, I was a little bit less shy. I was a little bit less shy. And I think that was the first time in my life at 18 when I learned that I could be popular. I think that was a big moment for me because high school, I was not popular. And so college, when I went, I had all these friends and everybody wanted to meet me and like, talk to me and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, I can be popular. Like who knew? Like who knew? So that was a big moment for me. In terms of climax, like the whoa, it was in 2015. I was just sick and all had this vision of like fame and like influence and changing the world and being this like woman lifestyle brand worth, X million. And, my parents, again, we come from a, a middle class family. And so parents are like, you have no idea what, 150 million is. And I told them, I was like, I'm not asking you for 150 million. I'm just telling you that that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's always been a part of my trajectory is like super ballsy, super, confident, all of that. And so I think in 2015, I tweeted my website out to a whole bunch of people, neither of whom I knew. I was just like, hey, look, I'm a speaker. Like literally like where you are, it's like, hey, look, I'm a speaker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a speaker. And some people saw it and they looked at my content and they're like, oh, she's different. And she reached out to me and she said, you need a publicist. And I said, for what? She goes, for media work. And I said, oh, to like television? She's like, yeah. I was like, what? Well, like what? Because I was trying to be a speaker, but TV and radio and all this stuff is different. It's not the same as being a speaker in
It's
person.
way different.
It's way different, So I told her, I said, just because I speak, like, what makes you think that TV would be, amazing and a good option? And she's like, no, like, just trust me. And I was like, okay. And I saw this as a sign from above. I believe in God. And
It's a random person on Twitter said all this?
Yeah. Like she discovered me, and even to this day, I told her, I was like, "Girl, you changed my life," And so I signed, in March 2015, and that's changed my life. So I think that would be the climax moment. Where we are today is sort of the rise. So in my Wikipedia entry, there's like a rise to fame. Like I think that's where we are right now. I think it's hard. I think there are different challenges here than I had 2 years ago. 2 years ago was like, what am I doing? Now it's like, holy shit! Like I want to make sure that my rise is well managed. I want to make sure that I don't lose myself in the process. I want to make sure that I stay sane. I want to make sure that I have full control on like revenue streams and what's happening. Because right now there's a lot of people in my life, all of whom me to do a lot of different things. And so it's like I can't say yes to everybody. So it's like, who do I say yes to? Or so basically like strategy, prioritization. And then of course I have a company on top of my brand, So now it's like a different struggle than it was 2 years ago. But I'm super grateful. I think this year is going to be that year for me in terms of like my rise. And the next year will be like, she's there, which is what is exciting. Because I think the rise is really difficult for a lot of like people, famous and celebrities and all, because I've just read a lot, and a lot of, especially women, struggle a lot with the rise because it's like perception. It's a lot of people know you now, and it's like, what are they saying about you, and just all kinds of things. And depression is pretty common when you have something like this. And so I'm very thankful that I've like avoided a lot of that so far. and I want to keep avoiding it because I want the good, but like obviously I don't want the bad, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's kind of where we are right now. And then next year will be like managing the new life that is gonna be my life. You know, I think that'll be next year, which
So
is
two
different.
questions. Two questions, because I
Yeah.
want to see what your I'm just curious to see what your mentality is on this. So say for instance, right? Say if next year wasn't a year. Say if you
Mm.
were still on the rise. Say if you were on the rise 3 years, next three
hmm
years.
hmm
You think that would change like the way your thought, like what would change like about that? Because I know from you're a dominant personality. You're a person
Yeah.
who's like, yo, I'm going to do
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
what if
Mm.
it took 3 or 4 years for you to really take that next step? Like how would you cope? How do you think you would? The go getter girl, how would you still
Yeah.
keep that same fire, that same energy, that same belief if it was
Mhm.
just the next couple of years?
You know, dude, I'll be honest because I think, again, I believe in destiny. I believe in, creating your own destiny. And I think that with the manager, because I just signed with the manager now, like I've been calling this in for a long time. I've been thinking about it. I've been like praying for it. I've been, because I'm like, I need a manager because to me, a manager is next level. And then all of a sudden he just shows up in my life and he's like, hey, let's talk, let's this. And then now I'm like, oh my goodness, like I feel like I prayed for you and now he's here. And so, to be honest with you, I would have problems with it. 100%.
Thank you
No,
for
no,
being honest.
seriously.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you.
Because the thing is, like, I was very clear that this is my year to rise. And so if I didn't get booked with a manager this year, not like I would definitely have an issue, right? Because I'm like 25 now. In the media world, in the entertainment world, 25, 26 is not that young, in terms of like celebrities and women and all that kind of stuff. And so for me, it's like I'm, 5 years from 30. If I get discovered by a manager at 27, like that just gives me a lot less time to work, so I absolutely would have problems because I'm extremely like you said, vicious in my goals, but also like achieving them. Like literally, I got off the phone with a manager today, and if you didn't know who was who, you'd be like, "So who's the manager and who's the client?"
Mhm.
Because that's just how I roll. I'm very dominant. I say it like it is. I put together stuff, and then I achieve. So absolutely, I mean, would I have problems? Absolutely, because to me, that would mean that it's not happening.
Mhm.
But having said that, in terms of like how do I keep focused, what I'm focused on is growth.
Mhm.
So do I need 1 million followers today? No. But I definitely need to be on track to 1 million, like if that makes sense, So that's kind of what I focus on is, I need to be growing. I need to be seen in more places. I need higher profile offers, versus like staying in the same place. So I
Nah.
think for me, that's how I look at it. But would I have problems? Absolutely. I
And
mean,
I'm
I'm dealing with that even now as we speak. I'm like, oh, this is not going to happen, or what if we lose this? And what I mean, so this is just how I'm wired. I've tried to change it at times, but then I was like, that's who I am. It's hard to change who you are.
but I love the fact of the urgency of the time and the window, because I'm a big believer that I know at the end of the day some stuff does take time, but there is a window out there.
Yeah.
There's a window.
Yep.
Everybody has a
Yeah.
window, and
Yeah.
if you do not kill it and dominate within your window,
Exactly. Yeah.
then even when you do get there, it's not gonna be the
hmm
same. Like
hmm
you're gonna get
hmm
there, but and a
hmm
lot of times, majority of times, it's the work that we put in while doing it. Like if
hmm
because if we put in the work and you're just so committed, and I know you manifest energy. Energy always manifests. So
hmm
if you going a mile, I mean, this is my year. You have that focus, you have that drive, you have the team
hmm
around you, and you believe it,
hmm
it'll happen. But
hmm
sometimes I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs, just people in general, not even on an entrepreneurship tip, just people in general don't have that urgency. Why is it not
hmm
urgent? So can you speak? Because
hmm
I know this is not on the questions, and this is not even.
hmm
But I'm like, I always feel that like cats are not urgent enough. Not to say they want to speed stuff up the wrong way, like
hmm
buying followers and all that BS. But I'm talking
hmm
about urgent and executing. That's why I
hmm
know you're gonna be good in this podcast. I'm like execute. So how can we
hmm
become more urgent in executing?
That's a really good question. And you know what? I think it's a very personal thing because there are a lot of people I know. In fact, you know what? Not even a lot. I would say 99.9% of the people I know, and I know the Harvard and this and Stanford and like literally the most elite schools in the world who are not urgent, kids from those schools who are not urgent right now because they're like, it's fine. I'm 25 and I have a long life or whatever. And look, they're not wrong. So I don't ever try to correct them. I don't ever try to say, hey, well, that's wrong because no, they're like traveling or, you know, a lot of them are like married or whatever. I don't know, whatever they're doing, right? And so that's cool. That's their life. But I also know that the kind of success that hopefully you and I will continue to have demands that we do this, demands that we are urgent. Now, whether or not this is correct and they are wrong or they are right and we're wrong, I don't know. I mean, I don't think you can tell, right? I think it's like a very personal decision and a very personal choice. But I don't think you can tell someone to become more urgent because I've tried that and it's failed, you know? So I think it is something that they have to come up to terms with that. I mean, honestly, if you think about I'm 25. In fact, most people with the bio that you read, they'd be like, shit, I'm amazing. Like I have nothing else to do, but I'm not wired that way, you know? And so for me, like nothing is enough, you know what I mean? So that's just my wiring. That's not that I'm like very whatever. That's like my wiring. And so for some people, they are not urgent. They're like, I graduated from Stanford and I have a 6-figure job and I'm 25. Like I'm doing fine.
And I get it.
What is your problem? And so then I'm like, yeah, I guess. I think it just depends on what you want to do, you know? So some people are wired like that. They're like, I'm fine. And some people are like you and I, that nothing is ever fine. So I don't think you can change it is my answer.
No, I love that because it's just it all rounds about self-aware. Because if your goal, the problem always comes to me. And the reason why I ask is because there's people, their goals are to do blow up in X, Y, and Z. Their goals are specifically to dominate this lane. And I'm like, how can that be your goal in urgency? Like the Stanford guys, their goal is to have a good time and enjoy life. I get it. Boom. But if your goal is to like, yo, you on Fox, because this is why I asked that, right? You do this podcast, people gonna be like, how do I get on Fox? How do I get on Huffington Post? How do I do this? They're gonna ask you these questions, and then you're gonna, in a year around, you're gonna answer, and they're gonna still be in the same space. And it's like, hold up.
No, absolutely. You know, and I think you're a really good example of that, Greg. I mean, unbiased. I mean, what you've done in 5 years is pretty commendable, or less, you know, is very commendable. And I think that people like you, honestly, are the ones I respect. But I will say that I think you're rare. I think you're in a minority, you know, of like your level of not even passion, but dedication and commitment to execution is not something that I see on a daily basis. And I'm dealing with, you know, the quote unquote best of the best and, you know, the smartest of the smartest. But I don't see your level of insanity. Honestly, I think both of us are insane. I do. That's what's needed, though. If you want, you know what I mean?
You have to. Like insanity. I was telling my friend it was like 6 months ago before I took like a 3 month, like the first 3 months of the year are very, very slow for me because I was just trying to place like how do I want to like what was the vibe?
Yeah, for sure.
But I was like, yo, I'm not crazy. I'm like, I'm not I know when I'm insane, when I had that like buzz, when it's like you can hear it, that's when you win. That's what I mean, if we're wired that way, right?
For sure. And I see that too. I mean, yeah, same. I feel like I followed you for a while now. First half of this year was a little slow, but now I see that you're picking up, and you know the rest of this year will be great. And same with me, like I'm doing a whole bunch of colleges later this year, and so same, you know. And it's not like all perfect, right? I don't think for both of us this year was like all perfect, you know. But I think that, I mean, I can definitely say that I've hustled more this year than I ever have, and I think that's probably the same for you too.
So let's pivot a second and talk about, and I think you'd be the perfect person to talk about before we get into your bread and butter of like women's empowerment, confidence, and stuff like that. Before we get there, I did have one question to see where it goes about how can you position yourself, because you've been positioning yourself, you Huffington Post, multiple television brands, to be a key figure influencer, but also be authentic. Because you could easily just put all your highlights up. So how can you navigate it without being too like humble bragging? The delicate space of authenticity versus really positioning yourself as a thought leader and a major influencer. Because I struggle with it sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's sometimes I'm like you shouldn't think so much, right? I think that's like the perspective that I'm taking now. It's like what am I feeling? Okay, I'm going to tweet that. Like honestly, it's that simple. I think before I also sort of struggle with like what should I tweet today? You know? But now I think maybe it's just like maturity or as you get older you're like I don't care, about how people see me or whatever, whatever. And so, I think where I'm at now is absolutely like I have a calendar, I have an editorial calendar because mine, and I'm sure with yours too, it's like becoming such an industrial process that I can't
Oh
just be
my
like, what
God,
am I
people
gonna
would never
tweet?
know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't be like, what am I gonna tweet today? I don't know. Figure it out now. Like, I just don't really have the luxury of doing that now because there's like people listening and, I have to not say the wrong thing and, all that kind of stuff. And so I do have a calendar. Having said that, I'm also very like organic. And so like today, for example, I'll give you a very good example. I tweeted yesterday about, what was it? The healthcare reform, right? So like
Hmm.
all men are deciding about women's healthcare. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just inappropriate. And I think I'm also at the point where like I'm absolutely like super angry about it, like
Hmm.
mad. But I think what translates well on social media is not anger, but like disgust, like horrified, just
Ooh,
like
I love that
you know what I
anger
mean? Like
disgust.
how, yeah, like how does this work? And so literally what I tweeted right now, and this is getting organically. This is not me promoting it or whatever. It's gotten 500 likes and almost 500 retweets, and this is like organic. This is
No,
just
I
me just
saw
putting
that.
it up.
I looked through all your tweets and I'm like, yo, this is
Yeah,
organic. This is not like
yeah.
ride and retweet wave. This is just.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
how does he
This
do
is
that?
like original. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm really proud of this. This is my first one that I think will hit thousands. So I'm really excited. Organically, not like paid and, all that other stuff. So this is organic. And I said only men cannot make decisions about women's healthcare. This is ghastly inappropriate. RT to see more women policymakers. And I thought that was like a really good way of just being like, what the, right? But without being mad. Because I
No,
don't think anger translates well on social media at
no.
all.
You just.
Uh, and I think I said it in a good way. I'm like WTF, right? WTF, but without the anger of that, And so I
Mm.
think I did that really well. And so I'm getting good at that now. So I just say it like it is. So like today I said a real man focuses more on a woman's, intellect than her, whatever curves.
Yeah.
And I was just like RT. And so I think people are like getting used to that now because I've never been someone who like filters everything,
Hmm.
but now I'm like even more not like that. But yes, I do definitely like watch what I say. I want to make sure that's not like overly controversial and rubs people the wrong way, all that. But in terms of like authentic, I mean, I am who I am, and I think whatever you are, you are. If you're, a diva, you're a diva. Some women, they're a diva. Like Beyonce cannot be this normal girl. Like it's not possible, So I think for me also, I've learned to just like embrace all of me,
And men
and be
struggle with
like
that, I
this.
think. We get closer to the end. We still got a couple things I want to touch on and discuss. And I know we call yourself, you call yourself the go getter girl. And I love that, by the way, go getter. So
Thank you.
let's talk about women's empowerment because you talk about feminism. You talk about, and I saying it right. Am I saying feminism right?
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
talk about
yeah, yeah.
yeah. You talk about feminism. You talk about women's empowerment. You talking about gender equality. Can you share kind of the origin of what your angst and your commitment to
Mhm.
be a
Yeah.
advocate for
Yeah.
that? And the,
Yes, I absolutely believe in gender equality. And I think, my impetus, the reason why I'm so fired up, is that even today, and, I grew up, again, very educated, upper middle class family, good education, all of that. But I still notice that women, girls were not, the leaders, were not sort of charging ahead, were not encouraged to charge ahead as much as some of the guys were. And that kind of irritated me, because I think I've always had some amount of, male, I guess, male associated qualities of like ambition and, aggression and viciousness or whatever, right? And so for me, it was like, I'm very proud of that. Like I've never once been like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm, so ambitious. I'm so sorry that, I'm getting these grades that I'm getting. But as I started reading into the issue, I found out that, girls' confidence drops in middle school, right? They're not pursuing STEM at the same science, technology, engineering, and math at the same rates as, guys are. They're not excited about their grades. They're excited about, which guy is looking at them or whatever, right? And so that stuff just honestly pissed me off when I read about it. And because my thing is that today, any guy who looks at me is because of what I've done. So I think, honestly, between you and me, I think my story is a great FU to all of the haters, to all of the people who are like, women should, preferably be in the kitchen, preferably have a couple of children and not work, because everything I have today is because of my work. I mean, to be honest, whether that's friends, whether that's, personal relationships, everybody in the world wants to talk to me because of what I've done, not because of who I am or just because of how I look or whatever. It's because of what I've done. So for me, I think it's a great story for women to look at, and because I've always been, essentially no. No F's given, right? And so that has been my philosophy. And so when I found out that the situation was this bad, when I found out that, like barely 4% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women, that they're not even making it up to the C-suite in some cases. And then ever since I started my company, I've been, networking like crazy. I'm sure you have too. And I've been noticing that literally stores that I shop at, women, fashion stores, all the CEO, like C-suite, entire C-suite is men, with the exception of like one woman who's a CFO. And I'm like, how does this happen where your entire business is like jewelry and accessories and dresses for women? You don't have a single woman on your C-suite except one who's a CFO. Like, how does that happen? So to me, it's a little weird, that like if a woman runs Gillette Men and like the entire Gillette Men C-suite is women, it's a little weird. I mean, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that's like the norm though. A lot of people that I'm connecting with, and I'm talking Dior, I'm talking Francesca, I'm talking big fashion brands. Like, you don't get more women than that, right? It's all guys. And so I still don't know where we're going wrong, because again, I have a lot of friends, and I know that, HBS, Harvard Business School, Stanford Business School, Yale, all these amazing schools are like graduating, record numbers of women, right? 43% women, almost 50% women. Incredible, truly. I don't know where they're going. I don't know. Seriously, I don't know if because they're not starting their own businesses at the same rate. If they are, they're not making, because the thing is, the big thing is money, right? And that was the other thing that I wanted to show with women's empowerment. It's not just, hey, like, let's all have fun and hug each other, but it's like, I can out earn many men combined in my lifetime, And so I think that's what I also want to show, is that it's not just about fun and games and being fuzzy and loving each other and being, happy for each other, but it's also like a woman can bring home the box, and just be financially empowered. And so all of that has been very important to me. And so I just started organically speaking out about it, 2 years ago. I was like, oh, a go-getter girl is this, and she's ambitious and she's fierce. And I guess what happened was that this rhetoric is not like common, in terms of like describing an ambitious woman in a positive way. And so it actually caught a lot of attention and it caught a lot of fire. That article did very, very well. A lot of men commented on it. And then even today, the article the tweet that I put up, which is, only men cannot make decisions, the majority of retweets and likes are from men. And so I know, which is like amazing to me, right? And I'm so thankful that I am who I am, because I'm an engineer. And like, when you look at my bio, if you don't know my gender, you may say that I'm a man, right? Without like the women angle, because all this engineer, author, CEO, these are like speaker. I mean, these are like traditionally male roles. And so I think what's amazing is that here are all those male roles. And so obviously I connect with men, but at the same time, I'm a woman who's not a bitch. So obviously I connect with women. So I think I'm in a very, very amazing sweet spot. You know what I mean? And I think that's been incredible, because I've had so many men reach out, like personally reach out and like, thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for, cause we need that. We need to see, and that's the gap that's missing. Cause right now, a lot of women that that I know, that we love, celebrity women, they're all just like a little a little too gentle, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like you need someone vicious, you need someone fierce, you need someone who doesn't give a, shit to like drive change, I think Michelle Obama is like that. I really do. I think she's
Yeah.
like that. She's a hit with the women, but she's also taken very seriously by men. But she's in a minority, of women like her, who have that level of fame as well, because a lot of the other women that I admire, they're not as like pop culture famous.
Mm-hmm.
They're just like CEOs or whatever. And so I'm trying to bridge that gap. I'm trying to be CEO, speaker, engineer, who by the way is famous as hell. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm trying to, because to me that's influence. That's influence. When you see me in a TV show, when you see me walking a red carpet, when you see me on Access Hollywood, oh by the way, she's an engineer. I think that's going to shut some doors on people's faces to be like, oh shit, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm excited about. So I know that was like a very long-winded answer.
No, but I get you.
You needed to like hear the story. Yeah.
And I have two more pointed questions on women's empowerment, but this goes for those that are not kind of where they want to be, right? So the first question I have is what is the secret? And I always think about what is the secret to feeling good about yourself when you're just not winning? Because it's easy when you're winning to be
right.
like, yo, I'm a diva, I'm dominant, blah blah blah. When you're not winning,
yeah. Look, again, like I said, I don't think it should be associated with your successes or your failures, that you should wake up every day saying, I'm beautiful, I'm strong, I'm empowered, and I'm going to make it happen, And I think, honestly, my self-worth is not tied to my successes, but it's tied to the fact that I've gotten out of every situation that I've ever been in. And I think that takes some amount of respect for yourself and love for yourself to the point that I figured everything out. I'm not saying everything was great. I'm not saying that I won everything. I'm saying that I figured everything out, and I think that's like something that I'm very proud of.
But what does love yourself look like?
So,
a lot of people say love yourself, but what is
yeah.
it? What does that look like for you?
Dude, it's for me, it's like literally being like, because there are times now when everybody's like, do this, do that. Parents are like, what are you doing? Are you unemployed? And there are times when I'm just like, you know what? I don't have to answer to anyone because I know what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I love myself. I respect myself to do what I'm doing. Because I think if I didn't love and respect myself, I would have given up a long time ago. And just always being like, I love me. And that's my latest tweet. I was like, unrequited love hurts a lot, but always remember that if you love someone and you're not loved back, you love yourself the most. Because what happens is when you like have your self-worth and stuff dependent on other people, it's a very tricky situation because your self-worth fluctuates. But where I'm at, like nothing fluctuates. Like you hate me, cool, brah. I still love myself. You know what I mean? Like that's where I'm at. You think I'm shit, cool. I think I'm the shit. You know what I mean? Like that's where I come from. And so,
I love that. So to get to a more practical level, because our listeners are very practical. They love story on a practical level.
Yeah.
How have you been able to gain such a following, like a real organic following?
Dude, it's tweeting this stuff. I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of controversial, right? When I say stuff like unrequited love is great, like it's kind of weird, right? So I think it's about putting stuff out there that obviously doesn't exist right now. I think that would help. And also being, I mean, for me, it's obviously different than from, other people. But my brand has always been ballsy. Like you said it, right? It's like vicious. It's ballsy. It's out there. It's fearless. It's fearless. Like I'm going to say stuff regardless of whether or not you think I should be saying stuff. Right. And so I think that has been my brand. And then obviously I'm a woman. So it's like even more like less expected of me to be sort of this fierce and be this like I don't give a shit, right? Literally written on my face everywhere I go. So I think for me that's been a big thing because people they're not used to that, And I think we're getting a little better. Like we have a Beyonce, we have Taylor Swift who spoke out against like the small artists not being compensated. So we're seeing a little bit of that now. So it's not like I'm a complete like aberration from everything that Hollywood and whatever else has ever known. Like no. Because we're seeing some of that. But I think in terms of what I'm going to do, nobody would have seen all of that in one person. Like I'm, fluent in Spanish and this, and I'm going to create all sorts of, noise in the world. Good noise, lovable noise, but
Lovable noise.
noise nonetheless. And I think people haven't seen that before. So I think it's about novelty. It's about fearlessness. It's about honesty. And I think something that everybody agrees with, and you agree with too, is I'm real. Everything that I'm doing, it's not like to be famous. It's not something that someone is telling me to do. Like, these are all real thoughts. They're all organic. They're genuine. This is authentic, So, I mean, I have very little that someone can like poke holes through. Like, what are you going to do? There's nothing to poke holes through. So I think that's also been a great thing, is I have not lied to be where I am. I have not compromised any value. In fact, I've held all my values. In fact, I've, come here with all of me. I'm very proud to be an engineer in a world where, no one is an engineer. So I think that's been huge, is like owning yourself, loving all of you, and also just putting stuff out there that doesn't exist. I think that's been really huge. And then I will say, I mean, I have some advantages as a woman who speaks out, because you're a little bit more rare than a guy who speaks out, so that's something that has been a blessing. I didn't choose it. But yeah, I think that's kind of what it's been. And just being like real, being real and being loving. I think the world needs more love. So you see that with everything that I do. There's a lot of heart. There's a lot of love. There's a lot of emojis, and that's just who I am. I mean, if you talk to me in my personal life, that's what I am. I use emojis all the time, and like, so I think that's been a great thing. Is like, nothing is fake. Nothing is like just for media. Like, this is all just who I am. So I think a couple of things: authenticity. I think putting content out there that doesn't exist right now, or it doesn't exist in the way that you're doing it, is going to be huge, right? Right. And then number 3 is just owning all of you, leveraging all of you. So not like hiding parts of you, but just putting all of you out there in a nice package.
In a nice package. Yeah. And then how were you able to get on Fox, NBC, and all those? Like, how did that come? Because you're still relatively young. So how does that work?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So again, I do have a publicist, right? Full disclosure. I do have PR representation who manages all of that. But one thing I do want to say is that at any point, producers can reject PR representation. So it's not like you have PR representation, so you're going to be on Bloomberg and CNN and the Today Show on the first day. Like, no, because they still have to accept you. They still have to approve you, So it is still a very like tough process, Having said that, I do have someone handling that for me, so it's a little bit easier. But
it wasn't always like that, though.
Well, no, and we've always been, we've absolutely been rejected, so I've been rejected, absolutely. But I think what's been huge is pitching topics that are relevant, pitching topics that are important to what they're talking about, so we're not pitching random stuff ever. Like, it's very on trend. It's very newsworthy, because it's like news, right? All of these channels are essentially news channels. So I typically go on like lifestyle segments or like a tech segment, but it's still like a news show, right? So I can't be talking about like the weather, you know what I mean? Like that's like a meteorologist's job. So I think also being very cognizant about like, what am I talking about? And then also, am I the person who should be talking about that? I think that's something that I'm very particular about. Like, there were some topics that, my publicist and I were sort of tossing back and forth, and we're like, no, I don't think I should be talking about this. Like, I don't think that I'm qualified to talk about.
Can you share an example?
Yeah. So it's a little bit, I guess, I mean, not the most usual topic, but I think it was, so the UN, you read about that, right? So I spoke at the UN, and it was about essentially streamlining resources to end, for post-rape care in countries abroad. Very deep, very hard-hitting. It was one of the most sort of life-changing experiences for me. And I actually wanted to talk about that during, I think, Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And I was like, oh, this is and she told me, she's like, look, you are not, a rape counselor. You are not certified in this, or like, you have no credential to back up talking about an issue as sensitive as this. And so I am not comfortable pitching you. And I was like, you know what? You're right. You're right. Leave that to the people who have earned their right to talk about that on television. And for me, I did that as a panelist, and, they introduced me obviously as like an advocate, so I did it as an advocate, not as someone who has had intimate, experiences with that, or who has studied that or anything like that. So I think that was a really good example of just like, do not talk about something that you are not 190% certified on, capable on. Because, well, like when I've done a lot of like tech segments, right? And so they bring me on as like industrial engineer and speaker. Oh, okay, cool. You probably know something about tech. You probably know something about an app, right? Whereas if I talk about that, they'll be like, so are you a social worker? Are you no? The answer to all of that is no. And so I look really silly then on television talking about that. So yeah, I think that's been a huge learning process for me.
Oh man, that's great. And
Yeah.
and our last question on the practical point, because I mean you've taken a big jump as far as speaking. So one, how, like, what has, if you had to say the one key thing that has allowed you to go from like just doing some free gigs to doing some gigs well into five figures, like what changed, or did anything change, or how? Because I know there's a lot of people that hit me up all the time while speaking or whatnot. Not to say this one tip is going to get them over the hump. It's just that I just want to see from your perspective, your lens, what changed.
Yeah, dude. So, and look, I am still new. Like honest to God, I'm not joking. My first gig, this was free, but like my first gig out of school was, I'm not kidding you, November 4th, 2014. I'm not kidding you. That was the exact date. My first, close to 5-figure gig was May 18th, 2017. So that is essentially 2.5 years, not even 3 years. So, which is not a long time, right? I mean, it's not a long time in this world to go from 0, because that was 0, to 5. And so I think, and I honestly there wasn't much of a in between. So because the thing is, I wanted that. I wanted exponential. Like everybody was like, yeah, we'll pay you, 500. And I was like, I'm not interested. I am not interested, because either you're going to do 5 or you're going to do 0. Like, because I wasn't interested in like crumbs. Because to me, 500, no offense, anyone listening, for me, that was crumbs, and I was like, I am not about that. I am not going to do that. I'm not going to say yes. And so I didn't, so I rejected a lot of these like little things along the way. And I was like, I'm holding out for big boy, I'm holding out for the big one. And that's what I did. In terms of how I got there, media attention was absolutely huge. I mean, I think for me, it was like the defining factor, in terms of, say, all of it, like social media, television, radio, my website, all of that, just dominating digital, showing the numbers, showing my video collateral, showing that, hey, I've spoken before, here's the evidence, all of that was like huge. And she reached out to me, which for me was like an even bigger high, because it's not something that I ran after, something that she literally came to me with and offered me that. So I think that was a huge deal. And look, for everybody listening, publicists may not be the preferred option for everyone, but look, I think we all have access to digital. I think you can absolutely get your numbers up, whether that's through ads, through, content. But again, look, ads help, but ads are not going to help if you don't get any followers organically yourself, so I do want to put that out there, is you can't buy your way to 5 figures. I do want to say that. Because you have to have real content to prove that you're worth 5 figures, and also, figure out how to make a value proposition for yourself, right? Why should someone pay you $10,000 an hour, $15,000 an hour, or whatever, $20,000 an hour? Why are you worth that? So always have that ready. For me, that was my numbers. That was my, reach. That was my past engagements. All of that came together for me. And then that's what we're using now. I mean, that's why my manager is, that's his job, to pitch me and be like, you know what? She reaches 500,000 people every month. And she has this, she has that. As a result, she's worth X per hour, so it is something that you want to take seriously, but you cannot buy your way to this. You cannot, buy all the, Facebook followers like that. It's just, I mean, I do want to emphasize that I've treated this as a very, it's a business, so I've grown it, I've strategized, I've marketed. I mean, it's been all of that. So it's not like overnight, but yeah, I mean, 2.5 years is not much to go from 0 to that, usually it takes, I think, longer. So
it's just by position.
Yeah, exactly. Because also, I mean, I have never seen myself as like a struggling beginner, whereas a lot of people did. 2 years ago, they were like, "You are new. You've never done anything." And I was like, "No, but I don't see myself as like struggling 20 whatever 3-year-old beginner, you know." So I think that's also been huge, is like I've defined myself through my own perspective, not through other people's perspectives. And even today, you know, they are the ones who reach out to me and be like, "Oh, you know, your journey, your rise, da da da." And I was like, "Dude, you thought I couldn't do any of this 2 years ago," you know, but I don't say that anymore because I'm classy and I'm a big person. So I don't say that, but a lot of them didn't believe in me 2 years ago.
Real.
Yeah.
So the future round. What's next for you personally in 2017? I know you can't disclose a lot of stuff, but I mean, if you can just give us some type of tease, like what's
Yeah.
next? What's on the horizon? What can we expect from you?
Dude, it's absolutely unreal. Like my manager is just making me salivate like every time we talk on the phone because dude, now I have representation and he knows everyone like in Hollywood and Silicon Valley. And so I think the question is not what am I going to do? It's like what am I not going to do, you know? Because there's already so much that we can do. It's like we really have to prioritize. So you'll absolutely see me on national television. I think that'll be really exciting coming up this year. So I don't want to give out too many details, but it will be business focused. I can say that. But you will see me on national television that I can literally be like, watch this channel on Sunday at 7:30 Eastern, and you'll see me on TV. I think that'll be really cool. Marie Claire, you talked about that, is quoting me in an upcoming article. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to share that. And then just look, I mean, we're literally going for domination in the next year. I mean, radio, television, film, Hollywood, all of that stuff. I mean, it'll be ridiculous, you know, because no one like me has ever broken through that side. And so I think it'll be really, really amazing. I think the one thing that you can, you know, continue to see from me is just versatility. So the same week that I keynote at Google, you know, you'll see me on a red carpet. And I think that'll be what is going to stick with people. So I'm just really excited.
And I'm pissed we almost getting to the end, but I do have one question. It's real question that I'm like, yo, gee, how did you not address that at the beginning of the podcast? But what also makes you unique is you're of Indian. Is not Indian? What descent?
I'm Indian.
You're Indian. Okay. I just want to make sure that but you're of Indian descent, and that's like such a rarity in what you do. That's what also is like the triple unique factor of what you do. Like, I don't think there's been too many that have broke through an American soil in a big capacity. Yeah. So but how do you claim and own that though? Because from an outsider's perspective, it is sometimes the Indians that I see, they're either very, very Indian or they're white.
Yeah.
They act white.
Yeah.
So it's
Dude, I'm so glad you said that, honestly, because I completely agree. And I think that's why I've been so obsessed about making it and about really like doing it the right way and the big way. Not like, oh yeah, she was on one show as a, you know, guest appearance. Like that's never something I wanted, right? So for me, it was like either I'm Jessica Alba or I'm nobody. Like who is like that in between. So there was no one. And so for me, you know, look, I'm very Indian. You know, I'm never going to be like, I'm not, like I was born in India. I've done plays in my native language. I'm as Indian as they come. Having said that, I'm also very American, right? And I also speak Spanish and all this kind of stuff. And so I think I'm really different from the typical Indian that you guys have seen and or see and or have heard of or whatever. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to rep me. I'm excited to rep my people. I think that there has never been a celebrity who is as Indian as I am, but who is also as American as I am, who's American. So like if you've heard of Priyanka Chopra, I love her. She is a Quantico star, Baywatch star, but she's Indian from India. Like she's not American, you know? And so what I'm building though is an American brand, an American lifestyle brand. I'm homegrown from America, you know? So I think that will be something that's rare. That just like hasn't been seen before, you know, because the Mindy Kaling and all of these people who I love so much grew up in a time when, you know, it was like difficult to like own your culture because of just, you know, racism and whatever. And so for me, thankfully, I've grown up in a time when I was very Indian in the way that I express myself and the dancing and the like all of that stuff, you know? So I've never never had to like apologize for my culture, you know? So I'm excited to bring all of that to you guys and to grow my, you know, portfolio to the millions and millions and millions of followers and this and that, because I think it's important. I think it's important for people to see someone who owns who she is, who speaks. I speak Hindi, I speak Bengali, I speak Spanish. I'm all of it, you know? So I'm excited, dude. I think it's been a blessing. I don't think something like this will happen again, because I think that there are a lot of factors that come together to create someone with all these different crazy skills. So I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to create a legacy. I'm excited to, empower other girls and women to be fierce, and also to show men that, you know, we can't be messed around with, you know, that we're going to make our millions, we're going to make our billions, and you're going to watch, you know, because I think it's really important for men too to be like, shit, you know, she damn girl, she's a billionaire, you know, like I think that's really important. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm so proud to be Indian. I'm so proud to be American, and you know, I think this is just the beginning. So I'm so excited.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So. As we conclude, I got the culture change round, which is a series of 5 rapid fire questions. I need rapid fire answers. Are you ready to go?
Yes.
All right. What is the best piece of advice that you have never received?
Oh God. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. Best piece of advice that I've never received. How important self-respect and self-love are in your career as well as personal life. I think that's something that I was like, oh my God, and nobody talks about it. And so I literally just wrapped up a podcast before you on that, why self-respect is the most underrated leadership trait.
Love that. Love that. If you could add one habit and take away one habit, what would it be?
Okay, add one habit, more calm. Be just like have each day and be like, it's fine. I'm doing fine. So like just be more calm. So that's add. Take away the need to constantly achieve, like every second of the day. You know, I think that's something that I would try to take away. As in not do it every second, do it like every hour, you know?
Oh, gotcha.
So,
What is your favorite book and why?
My favorite book and why? My favorite book. So what I just finished. I just finished. Ooh, okay. There was one called The Power of Habit. I thought that was really good because I think, and I'm, you know, now it's like I'm my own brand and I have to like really, you know, be in the habit of making good choices and do good things and just, I don't know. I mean, it's ridiculous in terms of an entrepreneur. It's like, you know this, right? You have to maintain your own schedule and all that kind of stuff. So it's called The Power of Habit. Basically how to build in good habits in your life, how to take away bad habits. And so I've just been trying to do that a lot more because now it's like I'm a brand, you know, and like what I say matters, how I look matters. I have to work out, I have to, you know, just like everything that I do all of a sudden is like important. So so that's what I've done. The Power of Habit. It's a good book.
Love it. What is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear, mediocrity. Yes, mediocrity. Not achieving what I want to achieve. And look, I mean, I think for me, it's been really important in the sense that breaking the barriers. You know, I come from a middle class background, so going from middle class to like millionaire, billionaire, dude, that's hard. You know, which is why I have the greatest respect for President Obama, you know, Michelle Obama, Oprah, all of them, because that's what they come from, or even less. You know, they came from even less, and so I think that is remarkable. I think that's incredible. I think that requires a lot of focus. I think that requires a lot of shutting out the noise, because I'm just every day I'm made aware that what I'm trying to achieve is very like, you know, like a very small percentage of the population is like trying to achieve that, and so I just want to keep going. I think I'm scared that I'm not going to make it there. I'm scared that, you know, I'll stay in quote unquote mediocrity. Mediocrity for me, it's not, you know, mediocre. It's like, you know, the normal life, but I don't want normal. I want crazy. So yeah, I think that's. I love it. And the last one before we into our final question of the podcast is, if you were the president of the United States, what would you do? What would the first thing you would do? My bad. If you were the president of the United States, what is the first thing you would do? Okay, I would enter the Paris Agreement. Yeah, that is what I would do because climate change is real, and denying it is not going to help anyone.
Say no more. Phew. And
Yeah.
last but certainly not least, I call
Yeah.
myself the culture change agent. And everybody
Yeah.
that comes to this show is a culture change agent in their own right.
Yes.
So, if you could change one thing about society, most specifically the culture, what would it
Yeah.
be and why?
Okay, so I just talked about this on the podcast this morning. So, so good. It's such a good question. So, I think society has a tendency to go from the outside in, as in, what is everybody else doing? Based on that, you figure out what you want to do. What is everybody else wearing? Based on that, you figure out what you want to wear. But I have always been inside out, meaning that I've mastered myself before I tried to talk to anybody else. I mastered what my choices were and what I want to wear before I figure out what other people are trying to wear. So I think I would want to change that mindset is like you have to go inside out. You have to master yourself. You have to become self-confident. You have to become powerful from within. You have to become validated from within before you try to like make friends and stuff. Because think about it. Today, if somebody doesn't want to be my friend, I'd be like, bye, I'll find another friend. But if me like 10 years ago, when let's say I tried to, be everybody's friend and somebody doesn't want to be my friend, I'm going to be depressed. Right. So I think that's the change that's because today, like nothing anybody does phases me, really. I ask you to speak at 4 companies say no, I'll get 10 companies to say yes. You know what I mean? So I think that's been my shift because I've just mastered myself and I've become so powerful and confident from within because I have not spent my entire life looking at what other people are doing. Right. So I think that would be like the biggest change that I want to make is you guys got to go from the inside out, not from the outside in.
Love that.
Yeah,
So,
that's like deep, right? It's
yeah.
deep-ish. Okay.
So
Yeah.
where can, because I mean I've enjoyed this interview. It's been a blast, energy, points, all that
Yeah.
good stuff. So where can our
Yeah.
audience keep up with your rise? How can we keep track? How can we stay in the flow in your presence as you continue to grow? Where can we find
Oh
you
my
at online?
God. Yes, please. Yes, join my go-getter clubs. So yes, I'm building a lot for us. So stay tuned for that. But for right now, follow me on Twitter at Speaker Shinjini, Facebook public page, like it at Speaker Shinjini, Instagram at Speaker Shinjini. I will say that I've been overwhelmed by the response. As you know, it's a very non-traditional person who has tried to break through here. But I just had one simple vision, which was that what if an engineer could become as famous as Beyonce and change the world? And I think that's what's going to happen. So, I mean, you guys have made it happen, right? I wouldn't be here without you guys. And I think that I'm just so excited to continue building for you. So absolutely stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more opportunities for you guys to interact. I've been getting that question a lot is like, I'm a go-getter guy. What can I do? I'm a go-getter girl. What can I do? And so I'm working on that now. So I won't say much, but there will be stuff for y'all to do. Let's just say that. I'm super excited. So yes, my handle is everywhere. It's Speaker Shinjini. Because I wanted to remember how this entire journey started, and it was through speaking. And so yeah, so now you're gonna see me in all sorts of like weird places and like red carpets and whatever, and I'll be like, all right, speaking. Like that's because sometimes I'm also like disillusioned. I'm like, how do we get here? And I was like, oh, speaking, speaker. That's how we got here. So it's actually a little bit for me also to just remember like how we got started. But yeah, dude, thank you so much, and I'm just so excited. And you're obviously a go-getter guy to the extreme. You can, have your own club. You be the president of your own club. And I'm just so excited. Yeah. So this has been great.
Hey, I love it. I love it. I love it. Minority Trailblazer Nation, man. You have just been a part of a classic interview. And I'd like to say publicly thank you for giving us your time, and just working through some tech difficulties. And yeah, just having an amazing spirit, amazing interview. I don't care whoever's listening, wherever they're at. I can tell you have no choice but to be perked up after something like this. Like there was no dry points. I mean, the energy was contagious, and I just can't wait to see kind of where you're going.
Yeah, dude, I'm so excited. I mean, I'll just say that the kinds of opportunities that are being discussed right now, you guys have never seen anything like this. So I'm just going to put that out there. It's going to be something unlike anything you've ever seen. And that's my job. I'm not here to do something that's already been done. Oh!
Hey, Minority Trailblazers, we ended on that. I had nothing else to say outside of make sure you subscribe and make sure you do one thing. What is that, Mr. Hill? One thing, change the freaking culture. Good night.